If you ever go to a powwow, you'll hear the singers, and they'll have two different types of songs. They'll have a song where there's actually language, where they're speaking the language or singing the actual language, and then they have what's called a vocable, which is the stereotypical chants. You know, the ha-ya, where they're not actually saying anything, but that actually came out of all these different tribes getting together. They're all singers, but you didn't want to have to learn another language to be able to sing a song, and those vocable chants came out of that. So anybody from out west could jump on a drum from out east, and then they could all learn the same song without having to learn the language. And the same thing kind of happened with the outfits. So traditionally, I'm what's considered a woodland native, Great Lakes native. And we were not this extravagant at all. You know, if I would have went walking through the woods with this, it'd get knocked right off my head, you know. There's parts that, this is actually technically a plains style of dance, but I incorporate some of my woodland iconography to identify that I am a Potawatomi. I'm dancing a different style, but I'm still Potawatomi. One of the main things would be my turban up here. We call them turbans. Now, before modern days, these wouldn't be as extravagant as this, even if we were dancing in it. The thing about being a Native American nowadays is that we're a rebuilding culture in a lot of ways. Not even rebuilding, but we're adapting and surviving. So things get adopted, things change, and I feel like it's important that you always should kind of push the boundaries a little bit. Yes, you should keep a foot in the past and respect where everything came from, but at the same time, you don't want to be anchored by it. We're not reenacting, we're a living, breathing culture, and I feel like it's real important that those adaptations take place. So these turbans we used to wear, this is actually an otter hide. If you think about it, Indiana's cold. It's cold right now. A headdress is not going to keep you warm. And we would dance in these. So you would have one that might be traditional, or for ceremonial use, but then you would have one that would be utilitarian. And it could be otter, it could be muskrat. Some guys even use skunk, believe it or not. There's some guys today that still dancing with the skunk. But I kind of incorporated the feathers from out west. These are all immature bald eagle feathers. And the bald eagle, the feathers don't turn white till they get to be a little older. On my back is what they call a bustle. I'm gonna turn around so you can see it. So this is specifically from out west, and they started a lot smaller, obviously, but as powwow culture has grown and changed, we've adapted it. Originally, this would have been, from what I was told growing up, originally this would have been a story of a battle that took place that you participated in. Obviously, I'm not a veteran, but it was always told to me that the circle of feathers represented all the participants that fought in that battle, and the two spikes that come up that tied everything together were the lances that were stuck in the ground and the arrows afterwards. And if you see, I got like a trailer at the bottom here. Nowadays, you'll see them in different colors, but traditionally they were red, and that represented all the blood that was spilled and sacrificed during the battle. Most men's dances are based off of what people nowadays would call a war dance. Each tribe might have had a different word for it, but for a better way of explaining it to you, that's kind of where it came from. And usually we would be telling a story of, this is something I did in battle, or this is what I'm getting ready to do when I go on this hunt, or I did this thing, and you're kind of telling a story when you dance of what you've done, what you're gonna do. And pretty much almost every dance style I feel is like that. You'll see like some of the women dancers, if they're like a fancy style. I apologize for me being the only one here. I wish I had a bunch of other dancers to show you all these styles. But a lot of times, they might not be telling a story. They might be simply praying, and their motions in and of itself is a prayer, The jingle dress dance, which is a predominantly female dance, it's actually a modern dress that was created in, I want to say, the 1800s by the Ojibwe. It's a completely new style of dance that never existed before. And this woman had a vision where she would take these tin snuff can lids, tobacco lids, and she would roll them up into cones. And there was 365 cones on that dress to represent one day of the year. And when she danced, the whole purpose of that dance was for healing. So like if they were somebody was sick in the village and they needed to do some medicinal healing, they would bring in some jingle dress dancers and would dance while they're doing all the other prayers to help heal these people. Sometimes they believed it was like a physical healing, sometimes they believed it was spiritual. But that's just an example of something that's completely modern that is also traditional. It's like that sometimes. To go on to, a lot of dance outfits are actually, I'm not sure the best way to put it, but I usually say they're archival or they're family heirlooms. I started making my dance outfits when I was really, really little. My beadwork I was so young that I don't remember my mom actually teaching me how to do it, but I know she did. The thing about these is that if you don't know how to make one, you're going to have to buy one from somebody who knows how to make one, or trade or something. You can't just go to Walmart and buy one of these. It's something that you got to know somebody, or you got to know how to execute it yourself. I spent a lot of time growing up just doing beadwork for myself. I had a couple buddies of mine that were the same age group. They were also native. Growing up in South Bend, there was only 2 other guys in my age group that were native, and they were still like a half hour away, but on weekends we would always get together, and they were kind of in the same situation where, my mom didn't have time to make all my outfits. I'm the oldest of 7, so she's got an excuse on why she couldn't make my outfit too. But we would get together and work on our outfits, all through our teenage years, middle school. That was like my thing. Every year, school year was really odd for me because I would go to school and I'd be there all week, and then my uncle would pick me up from school on Friday, and we would drive to Oklahoma over the day and dance for a day and then drive back, and then you go to school the Monday, and it's like you just switched worlds, because I'm not going to Disneyland or something. I'm going to a tribal function to be who I really am, And there's something to be said about, I'm a light-skinned native. I'm a native. I got a BIA number, but being light native, sometimes you feel like you have to explain yourself all the time. And a lot of times when I was in school, or my day job was tattooing at the time, I just wouldn't explain to people what I was, because it was, unless they seen me dressed like this, it turned into a conversation that was almost weird. Like, well, you don't look native, But you look at my family's drum, and I'm like the only light-skinned one, and the rest of them are all just as much native as I am. It's just the way genetics work, and some people, they just don't want to think about that. But with my beadwork, you try to make it so that you can maintain it, and it should last forever. In this museum, you're going to see samples of beadwork here and there that are from the 1800s or older, and some of them, they probably look like you could put it right on, and I guarantee you probably could put it right on and go dance on it, and it'd probably be just fine. Obviously because it's a museum setting, they don't want you touching the stuff, but if it's made right, it's going to last forever. My uncle has eagle feathers from my great-grandfather that are over 100 years old, and they look like they just came off of a bird. It's a matter of, when you look at our outfits and our feathers and stuff, I hate to use the term sacred, because they're not necessarily prayer items, but they're very, very important, and you should take care of them. As an example, this time where, and later on I'll let you guys come up and get a closer look at it, a good section of this beadwork I finished when I was 18, and I'll be 52 tomorrow. So you make these things so you can maintain them and keep them. This belt I'm wearing, this was actually my Uncle Clarence I was talking about that made that drum. He made this in the 70s when he was recovering from a stroke, and this was part of his recovery, his functions back. And when he passed away, this dance belt was passed on to me. And I talk about like you need to take care of it, but I'm kind of rough on this stuff. I dance a lot. I go to a lot of different powwows, and there is wear and tear, and you're constantly remaking stuff. And my uncle, he took me a lot of places. And I'm looking at this belt, and it's never been repaired, and it looks like it was just made if you get up on it. I was kind of embarrassed. I felt like maybe I just need to change how I'm taking care of my stuff, So in a way, it was passed on to me, and then I got a kind of lesson with it. With that, I'm going to do a quick dance for you. Catch my breath for a second, and then if you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you're respectful, I'll let you come up and get a closer look. I try not to let anybody touch my stuff, but I will let you get close enough to look at it. The dance I'm going to do, it's actually just a standard Northern traditional style dance. The song is actually by my friend Joe Surrett. It's his drum group. They're called Bear Creek. They've actually been nominated for Grammys. They're an amazing drum group. If you ever see them at a powwow, you should check them out. They're just really, really amazing. Thank you. I'm going to do this.